to jump now to Stacy Brown. And Stacy, who has actually, as we talked about, the stories he's been covering, why we're even having this observance this year, the focus of the observance, and what you've been seeing, Stacy, as you cover national issues that really do impact the messaging about this holiday. Welcome to Win TV.
Thanks, Denise, for having me.
So yeah, I mean, let's start with the Senate bill, and also I want to talk a little bit about the Supreme Court's decision yesterday. If you can update us on what the the Supreme Court decision had COVID, so we won't go there. But what the Senate has decided to do as it relates to the two voting rights bills that are waiting and languishing currently.
Yeah, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. Why is it so crucial, right? It's crucial, Denise, let's start there, because not only does, as people know, that in many Republican-led states, they've now passed voter suppression laws, laws that will make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for people of color in particular to vote. And in addition to that, here's the other part of that doesn't get a lot of attention. Those laws, particularly in Texas and Georgia, they come with this caveat that not only does it restrict a lot of people from voting, but it also dictates who gets to count the vote after the ballots are cast. And keep that in mind, because if you remember in 2020, of course, the big lie, Donald Trump said it was stolen from him. Imagine had those laws been in place, he would still be president because he would have gotten to choose who gets to count the vote. And so, so this is what's happening with those laws. Those laws include that. So it makes it vital that federal legislation is passed to blunt those state and local laws that have cropped up since the 2020 election. So the president, the vice president, and the entire administration has been pushing. Certainly over the past week, they've given, the president and the vice president given two big speeches. In fact, some called the president's speech the most forceful he's given. The White House described the speech as forceful. I spoke with Cedric Richmond yesterday, the senior advisor to the president. And one of the things that he said, it was really interesting. Obviously, he really went after Trump and the Republicans, but he said this too. He said the filibuster rules, because the idea of having to get around the filibuster or even abolishing it has really been a hot topic. But he said those rules shouldn't trump the Constitution. He said the rules are a means to an end. The end here is voting rights and free and fair elections. And all that is true. However, we saw that, again, that two Democratic senators, Senator Kristen Sinema of Arizona and, of course, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, blocked passage of any type of legislation to get around the filibuster to pass voting rights, although they claim to be for voting rights, which is really interesting, because you can't claim to be for voting rights when you know that all of this is happening, and then you have the deciding votes to stop it, and you decide to say, hey, as a footnote, CNN they actually labeled Sinema on their scroll as the Republican from Arizona. And look, it's apropos. And what they did yesterday, Denise, you have probably never seen Republicans, we probably have never seen done to a president by members of his own party before. The president had scheduled a meeting with Senate Democrats yesterday on the Hill, and to talk about the filibuster, to talk about the voting rights. And before the president arrived on Capitol Hill yesterday, Sinema and Manchin, the two renegade Democrats who have blocked the Build Back Better and certainly is blocking the voting rights passage, they took to the Senate floor in front of a gaggle of Republicans and declared that they were not going to change their stance. And that's so disrespectful on every level, knowing that the president, your president, the one that he's the leader of your party, and you couldn't at least give him a hearing ear before you went public with Republicans to say you're not going to support it. That was the height of embarrassment, and it's partly why President Biden's approval ratings are Trump-like right now.
Mm. You know, Stacy, the other thing, you know, we have these thoughts, we hear these reports, and we think about the impact on us as Americans and as American voters. You know, and when we think about voting rights, I mean, some folks have said this is not really high on the radar as far as issues are concerned in this country, and maybe even not even here in the District of Columbia for some unknown reason. But when I think about the fact that if the District of Columbia had statehood, what influence we would have right now in that Senate. And this is a primary example of why, when we're talking about voting rights, that statehood for the District of Columbia needs to be incorporated in that conversation, because like those two senators, Democrats, you know, who have their foot at the door, keeping it closed on voting rights, having two others from the District of Columbia, and now if it hasn't been clear before, it should be very clear right now why we keep being denied that opportunity. Because well, I'll let you. I'm getting ready to.
Well,
But let
you
you
know what you're
explain
saying.
what this means.
Yeah, what you're saying is, I mean, is spot on, because you know, every major issue that really, when you boil it down, statehood affects everyone, but it affects African Americans. Voting rights affects everyone, but it really affects African Americans. So every issue that's important to African Americans gets put on the back burner for some reason, right? We've seen it throughout history, and now we're seeing this here. There is no reason, if you are a voter, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or whatever, even if you're not, I cover politics, I'm not a political person, but so even taking myself out of the equation and looking at it from the outside, that is something that affects so many other things that they're trying, statehood, right? So for anyone, whether you're some Sinema, whether you're Manchin, whether you're Republicans, because I don't think the Republicans are truly against voting rights. I think you have a faction that is, because they know that it benefits their party. But I think that once you have something that is such an issue, Ice Cube, you know, was attacked viciously. The actor and rapper Ice Cube last year, 2020, when he gave Trump an audience and presented what he said was a contract for Black America. Well, you know what? I encourage people to revisit that contract, as particularly Black voters, because what he said has all come to fruition. Right. We are seeing now, one of the things Cedric Richmond said yesterday was that you're now seeing the weight, the force, anyway, the power of the presidency at work. Well, as he said that, we saw voting rights and everything else go down to 2. You know, and they have the intentions, right? There's no question that the Biden administration has every intentions on fixing a lot of what ails America, which is race, right? He's done some amazing things with executive orders and other things. The bipartisan infrastructure bill is going to benefit Black America just as much as anybody else, right? So he's done some amazing things. There are women in the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. They're, you know, leading that. There are a lot of appointments, Black women judges, I should say, Black women appointees, things that we haven't seen before. But again, it's almost like, you know, you're having a huge dinner, and here the collard greens and the black eyed peas, and then here comes the rice and the cornbread and the sweet potato pie. But there's no meat. There's no main course. They refuse to give us Black folks the main course, regardless of party.
Yeah, and that's historic, Stacy, and one who really could care less about the meat. I mean, I don't even go there with you, but you know, but that's how we survived in this country. We have recognized the fact that whatever we got, we had to work with, and we had to fight to maintain what we did have. You know, and hopefully, you know, try to get make sure that those who wanted more had opportunities. That's what we're talking about. Opportunities.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Right.
Black people have never, in general, as a whole, Black people have never asked for handouts. They just wanted, when they stepped on the playing field, they just wanted to make sure that the mound was 60 feet, 6 inches away, like everybody else. They wanted to make sure that if they hit the ball 400 feet, it was a home run like everyone else. They wanted a level playing field. And as a whole today, we've seen, you've got some great young reporters. Sam Collins comes to mind. We see where folks like Sam Collins come. They just want it straight, no chases. Just give it to us the right way, right? And so it's not about wanting something that we don't deserve or we shouldn't have. And so in the case of what's going on Capitol Hill with the Senate, it's always a scapegoat. And now, Biden, not Biden, but Manchin has made it clear that, my tag says Democrat, but I'm going along with the Republicans. Same thing with Sinema. And we made a big to-do a year ago in January when Ossoff and Warnock won in Georgia. It was a huge thing, right? Because Democrats now control the Senate. Well, guess what? Democrats do not control the Senate. And when the midterms come, and here's what's so dangerous. The midterms,
and I need to ask a question too, Stacy. Right. Definitely, they will be. And I need to ask quickly, Stacy, before we sign off. I want to tie that to Martin III and his wife and daughter, and what they're asking Americans across the country to do to focus this January 17 holiday on voting rights. Right now, the prediction doesn't look good for those two pieces of legislation. Where do we go from here?
Well, like you said, the King family, who, let's face it, they haven't always been united either since the death of Dr. King and Coretta Scott King, right? But they have come together on this issue, and they are spot on this issue, right? That's their part of their dad's legacy, voting rights. And so they're saying, look, this is no time to celebrate. There's nothing to celebrate unless we get this passed. And so now what they're doing, what is it? Joe Madison is doing, folks are going to have to figure this out. And unfortunately, they're going to have to figure it out without a politician, without a president or a senator or a congressperson being at the helm of what they do. Look, Black people are the most resilient people ever created. And so that resilience and then resolve that Black people are born with, is particularly Black women, are going to have to muster that up and figure this out without the aid or guidance or assistance of a politician. And that's just unfortunate, because you vote them in to do these things, but reality is reality.
It is. Stacey, I want to thank you so much for joining us and putting that, in context as we look at this Martin Luther King holiday this year, 2022, and where we go from here. And thanks for explaining, kind of, for those who have not been paying attention closely, why voting rights is so critical for us right now. We appreciate all the writing you've been doing. We want folks to check you out every morning, 7:30. NMPA, Let It Be Known, fantastic show. Yes. So thank you, and check out Stacy Brown.
Thanks, Denise.
All right, talk to you soon.